All right, guys. Hey, we're going to jump in and show you how to set up this Ableton template and show you how to use it. So if you've downloaded the zip file already, you would open that zip file and then you'll have this Ableton starter pack. Okay, and in the Ableton starter pack will be the Ableton template loops project. So you're just going to double click that and then double click it. And then that project will open up, and then this is what you should see. All right, and I'm going to check and make sure that my audio is routed correctly. Looks good. Okay, so a couple things you want to look for in this template, and actually let's go back to the preferences. So I'm going to go with live preferences, and then in your audio, you can route it however you need to route it. This will be important for how you depending on what you're using to route the audio. I'm using a Scarlett right now, just an interface. But you could be using your internal headphone speakers, which you'll click and you'll see the MacBook speakers or whatnot. So anyway, then we go down here to the record, warp, and launch sections. And if you look at these, the important ones here are going to be default warp mode. I like to leave that on complex. Now, if you're using the intro version, it may not have this. It may have just beats. So beats is fine if you have that, but if you have the complex feature, click that and let's use that. And then just select on launch on, and then these two here off, and that'll be good. And auto warp long samples, you can have that on or off. It doesn't matter for what we're using it now. I usually keep it, most of the time I keep it on because sometimes I have large files that I want to warp, but for this I have it off, so that'll be fine just like that. So that'll be for your settings. And then so let's look at what we have here in Ableton. So what I've included in this template is you're going to have a count in and what we call the guide track. That's going to be a count in fast, and then a count in slow. Then I have a 6/8 click and count in. Okay. So I've put a few of these here for you so that you can kind of copy and paste and use them for whatever song you'd like to use it on. Then we have a click track here, number 1 click track and number 2 click track. And then I also have another click track, a 4/4 click track right here. Okay. So you have 3 different click tracks, and I use basically 3 different ones for every song. Or not, I mean, not for every song, but I use it for when I'm in session. Sometimes I'll use different clicks for different reasons. For instance, this number 2 click, it doesn't have like a 1, like a downbeat, as like this one does. So if you listen to this one, I'm just going to solo that, and I'm going to turn this down just a little bit so it's not too loud. So you listen to this click. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So you can hear where the 1 is. This one does not have that. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So sometimes, depending on the song, I'll need it, to have the downbeat, the 1, or some I don't want it to have the 1 because of the way the song might, change time signatures or whatnot, or depends on what's happening in that song. So I'll have that for like I said, whichever song it fits well with, use that click. And I found that using the right click for the song makes a difference with my drummers. I found like the number 1 click is the best click that I've used for drummers. They tend to stay on very well with those clicks. Okay, so that's that. So let's talk about the count in fast and count in slow. The count in fast I use for songs that are above 80 beats per minute. If the song has a BPM of 80 or more, or above 80, I should say, then I'll use the count in fast. If it's at 80 or below, then I'll use the count in slow. Just makes it sound a little better. If you use like a slow one on a super fast song, it may have like a weird kind of warp sound. Because what's happening is these were recorded at certain tempos, and we're going to be changing tempos. So you want it to sound clear and sound well for each tempo change. Okay, so that's this section here. So you'll see I have 2 songs already put in here. Then I have an alter click, a 6/8 click, and a shout click. And these 3 I use for my alter service. So when we pastor calls alter call, and we do a song, and I want to just put a quick click track to it, I don't have to add it. It's already here, so I can just change the tempo and go from there. If it's a 6/8 click, I can put that in there, and then if we do a shout, I have that as well. Okay, so that's the guide section, the click section, and then you have two loop sections here. So sometimes I'll double up loops if I want like two loops to make it a little more full, or if I just use one, I'll just drag and drop here. Okay, so that's how these sections work. And as you click on each of these files, they'll show up down here. So this Cowden, for instance, when I play this, you'll hear one, two, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you can see those wave files right there as you hit play. So every time I click on one, you'll see where they are. Okay, that's the click, the click, that's the shout loop there. Okay, and that's the 4/4 click there. And so you can see all of these files. Okay, so that's this section here. Now we'll come down here, and then here we're going to look at our audio routing. And the stuff up here, you're not going to really need to worry about anything. It's really the audio 2. That section you're going to have to worry about. Now, if you don't see this, there are buttons over here that kind of hide the I/O. So there's I/O, and then you have all these other buttons here that will hide stuff. So if you don't see that, you make sure these are showing. So I have the I/O and this M button, and that's the mixer window. Okay, so the audio 2, and when you click that, a lot of times it'll say master like that. You're getting this, so it'll already say ext.out, external out. Okay, so when you click that, it'll auto detect the outputs. So right now I'm using my computer outputs, or my Scarlett outputs, I should say, and that has 2 outputs. So you'll see 1 and 2. So you can either do a stereo or a mono 1 and 2. So what I've done, and for most, I would say for most people, when you're getting started with loops, you're going to use either the headphone output, or like I'm using an interface. Okay, so if you use an interface or use the headphone output, this will be the same. So I'm sending out external out channel 1, the click and guide, and then channel 2, I'm sending out the loop section. And I'm doing that because the guide and click, I don't want the congregation to hear. I just want the congregation to hear the loop side. So on channel 1, when I send that out, I'm sending it out to the inner system so that all the musicians can hear the guide and the click. And then in channel 2, I'm sending it out another channel, and that channel is going to be live in the house. So this first channel, channel 1, will be muted in the house. So for the congregation to hear, they won't hear this, but the musicians will. And then channel 2, the congregation and the musicians can hear it. So that just sends it out a separate channel so that your front of house mix engineer will be able to mute the first channel and then let the second channel be unmuted so it can go through the house so everyone can hear that. Okay, now there's many setups here. This is the most basic. At my church, I run 8 different outputs. So I actually run a stereo loop channel or track channel, so that'll be 1 and 2. Okay, and so, but for this, like I said, most people, when you're first getting started, you're just going to run 2 channels. Okay, so that's what that does. And then down here, this will turn on and off the channel, and then solo the channel. Then there's a record button. You won't have to worry about that, but if you want to turn a channel off or on, you just click that yellow button, and that'll turn that channel strip on or off. Okay, then we come down here to this section. Now, this section right here, there's a little triangle that if that's not showing, you can click down here at the bottom right, or you can just double click on a file, and then that file will show up. Okay, so if you look here, you'll see you have the color of it right here. So as I change, you can tell, I'm on that blue one. So that's going to represent that color there from yellow, whatever it is. It'll show down here. Now you have over in this section, you'll see the time signature. Then you see all this stuff here. And then here's your volume for that particular track. So if I wanted that to be louder, you can see I can bring it up. But that one I don't want to bring up. But just in case you need to bring it up, that's what you want to do. Then you have this section right here where it says warp. Okay, and what warping does is what tells the file. Ableton will tell the file, hey, I know this was recorded at 120 beats per minute, but this song is at 130, so I want you to match 130 beats per minute. So we'll actually take an audio file and warp it to the tempo that you set in Ableton. Okay, so we'll get more into that when we look at the loops, but that should be on. For all of these files, that should be on. Okay, then you have a suggested BPM, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. And then these 2 buttons are going to be what's going to make it halftime, So cut the time in half, slow it down, or double time. So it'll make, it'll just, and you'll see that when we get to the loop section. Then right here, this is on complex. Like I said, you want that to be on complex. If you don't have the standard version, then beats, just keep it on beats. But if you can do that, then right here you have the loop section. So this will actually loop, and you'll see that highlight. And now this will loop over and over. Now this is the count in, so we don't want it to loop.
2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1.
So it'll just keep looping. But if you turn that off, it'll stop.
3, 4.
But this is just counting us in, so obviously we don't want that to continue to loop. Okay, so that's how this section works, and we'll kind of get to a few more things in this section as we move along. So let's get into running some loops and some songs. Okay, so I'm going to hit this tab here, and that's going to open up a window for you, and then you'll see a bunch of folders here and different things on this side. Okay. Now, what I want to do is open up the folder, and let's move this out of the way. And inside the Ableton Starter Pack folder, there is a Loop Pack 1.0. So I want to open that up in Ableton as well as the Clicks and Guides folder. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here where it says Add Folder. You're going to click that. Okay, and what happens is it'll show up just like this window. So you go over to the left and click on Desktop, and then navigate to the Ableton Starter Pack. Okay, and so what I like to do is keep my loops separate from everything. So I'm going to, when I get to that Ableton Pack 1.0, I'm going to double click that, and now that's going to be in there. I'm going to add another folder, and I'm going to do the same thing, but to the Clicks and Guides. So I'm going to double click that. Now I have Clicks and Guides and Loop Pack. Okay, so now when I click that, you'll see there's the number 1 click, number 2 click, number 3,
1,
and then, which is
2.
super loud right now. But those are your guide, your count ins, and also the click tracks that are already included. So if you ever lose these files or these go missing, which if you move the folder, these will go missing because they won't know where to pull them from. So if you move that to another folder or something, those may like gray out and go missing, and they'll look kind of like that. So they'll be gray out and you won't be able to do anything with it. So there's the replacement for those if you need. Okay, and then you have Loop Pack 1.0. Now here are all the loops that I have included here. So you can see there are over 80 loops in this folder, and they're all labeled by the beats per minute that they are. Okay. And I'll show you why that's important. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into putting together a few songs and show you how easy you can do this. Okay, so we're going to start with what's already up here, the song Lord, You Are Good. All right. Now, this song is 130 beats per minute. Okay, and if we start it,
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
So there's your click. So you already have a click track. So Lord, You're Good. So if you're just getting started, maybe start with just a click just for your band so you can get used to using a click track, okay? And but if you want to start with some loops, here we go, 130 beats per minute. So what I like to do when I'm finding a loop, I like to get one that's close in beats per minute. Like this one is actually 130, but it's kind of a weird beat, so I may not use that one. So I would just kind of find one that fits. There's 130. It's 130 there, or let's do, it's 126, 122. That's kind of cool. All right, so whatever one you find that's, not too far away from 130, I just wouldn't get down to like, one that's 88 or 87 or something. But if it's in the hundreds, you're probably good. So I'm going to take this 120. And I'm going to show you how easy this is. I'm going to just drag it, and I'm going to drop it right in the first, under the loops, right on the same line as Lord, You're Good. Because this is going to play so from this line, this whole line here. So it doesn't play vertically. It's a horizontal. It plays everything that's in this horizontal line, okay? So when I hit play.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
So you can hear it automatically changes. I'm going to turn this down just a little bit.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so you can see that loop is recorded at 120 beats per minute because it's warped. Ableton is saying, hey, let's take that up 10 beats per minute to 130 because I have it written here, 130 BPM, okay? And so it's going to take that. So that's a cool loop. Let's maybe take another one. Let's take one that is 130. Let's take that and just drag it and drop it on the other side. Now I've got 2 loops in there. And let's play them both together, see what it sounds like.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
So you got this one, and then you have this one. So together, you have a really full loop. So really cool. So that's how easy it is to do this. So most of these loops will automatically warp to the correct tempo. There are, I think there are a few of them that do not. And what you have to keep in mind is when you move these loops over, you have to see that like this 130 beats per minute. That's why I've written here 130. The suggested BPM needs to be that same tempo. Okay. So if this one did not say 130 down here, then you need to change it to 130 so that it does reflect 130. And that tells Ableton that, hey, this BPM for this loop is actually 130, so I know how to warp it correctly. Okay, so let's delete those out. So that's Lord, You're Good. And then, I've got a few songs here. Let's do maybe another fast song, Every Praise at 107. Okay, so this is how you change this. So you can either create a new line. Okay, and I'm going to do it both ways. So I'm going to hit Command I. Once I highlight that top line, Command I will create me another space. It'll keep the same Lord, You're Good and with the BPM. And this needs to be written just like this. Okay, it has to say, the important thing is not necessarily the name, but the way you write BPM and 4/4. So it needs to say 130 space BPM or whatever the tempo is. Like in this case, it's going to say 107 space BPM space 4/4. That's going to tell Ableton that we want to play it at 107 beats per minute and you want it in 4/4 time. Okay, so once I highlight that, you can hit Command R and now that'll let you rename that. Okay, so I'm going to go and delete that out. Okay, and I'm just going to, for sake of time, write 107 and then space and enter. So now you see 107 beats per minute, 4/4. Now I can write in here the name of the song, which this one is going to be Every Praise. Yeah, sorry, I forgot the name of the song we were doing. So 107, so I can write Every Praise at the beginning. You can put the name of it in. Obviously, you can do that. You can color code it. So like if you right click it, let's make this one like this reddish color. And so I usually will color code my worship set. So I know like which one is which or whatnot, or if I know I'm switching. So anyway, so that's that. So now now I have nothing here, so nothing's going to play. So if you want to add these count in, so you can either just drag and drop, but if you want to create a new one, you can just copy and paste. And on a Mac, you just hit Command C and then Command V, and then it'll paste it. Okay. Same thing with the click. You can just hit Command C and then Command V, and then you can paste it. So now I have 107.
1, 2.
So you can see that's a lot slower
1,
than this.
2.
And it automatically warps it for you. So some of these, I actually have the names of the songs. And I believe I have one for Every Praise. So let's look Every Praise. Yep, Every Praise. So right there. So I'm going to just take that 103 and drop it here. And now I'm going to play that.
1, 2.
Now it has it at 103 beats per minute. I do Every Praise faster. Sorry, Every Praise. I play it a little bit faster at my church. So whatever the tempo is you feel comfortable with, you can put it. 103 is where this one was recorded at, but I want to do it at 107.
1.
So now here, 107.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So now I've got my click track, my guide, everything is at 107. Okay. And so I just typed in every praise in that search bar there, and that took me to that. Okay. So there's, again, every praise. So you just hit that, and then your band gets ready.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so on and so forth. Okay, so just want to give you a couple examples of how easy this is to do. All right, so there's every praise, and like I said, you can put the name of it in, and there you have it. So we can go through. Let's say excellent, 96 beats per minute. So I'm gonna take this one and hit Command R, and I'm just gonna change this to 96. Okay. So this is excellent. How excellent is your name?
1, 2.
Okay. Now this is not a good loop for that, so I'm going to delete that out. And I believe I have one in here for excellent. Yep. So I'm just going to drag and drop it over. Okay, and it's at 96 already.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so there's that. So again, very easy. Whatever the song is, or it's Hallelujah, You're Worthy at 155. So that's pretty fast. So I'm going to take that and let's change this to 155. Okay. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to find one that's close to the 150 range. So it's 150. Okay. Those are shout loops. And some of them are named here. So it's fire. This is just a generic one. So let's try that one. So I'm going to drag that over. Let me delete this one out. And then we'll start that.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
So there you are with Hallelujah, You're Worthy. Now you have a loop and a click track. Everybody's in tempo. Everybody's, locked in together same time. So this is so powerful. It's just drag and drop. It makes it so simple to do. Okay, so let's move to some slow songs, and then I'll show you some other features that I love to use. Okay, so that's the fast song. I'm going to delete this whole thing. And you can hit Command I and make as many songs as you need, for your worship set. Okay, so it just all depends on what your needs are. So down here I have How Great Is Our God at 80 beats per minute. Okay.
1.
And then I have this other click track here that,
1,
that's
2.
used. Now you can use this click track or not. So if you don't need it, then you can delete it. And what's important is when you're finished with getting your set together, you always want to save it, but save as. Okay. So on a Mac, I hit Shift Command S, and that will save as. And that way you can rename it. Because if you save over the template and you've deleted like a different click or something, and you may want that back, I always like to start with the template at the beginning to start my worship set. When I'm putting a new set in, I don't want to start from something I've already changed. I always start from the template. And that way the template never gets changed. So never save over the template. Okay, so let's look at a few slow songs. Okay. So I have a few here: Holy Spirit, Kingdom Come, Break Every Chain, Waymaker. So we'll do a couple of these. Let's do Holy Spirit. And we can do How Great Is Our God too. It's already in here. So I'm gonna actually make this click come down here, and then use the same number 1 click.
1.
Just like that. So How Great Is Our God? That's 80 beats per minute. So let's go around 80 and see what we got. So we have several at 80 here. But see, these are 6/8 time, so you don't want those. You want a 4/4 time. Now I didn't mark the 4/4. If they don't say a 6/8, then it's a 4/4 loop. Okay, so 6/8 is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 time signature. Okay, so we have a few of those. So that's a pretty intense loop there. So let's try it. It's like a fire. All right, so let's play that one.
1, 2.
A little bit intense for this song, but
3, 4.
Okay, so I would say, yeah, nah, I'm not really feeling that. That's a little too intense. I want something it's gonna fit the song a little bit better. Okay, that's nice. That's different. It's a little out there, so let's put that 80 beats per minute there.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
So it seems a little empty, so let's maybe do that one with another loop. Okay, so I have there's a worship here. That's nice. And actually, this one right here, KC worship, it's my favorite loop to use for worship. So I'll just drag that up there.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so you can see that. Okay, so nice. So you can use either both of them, one or both of them. That's probably good when it gets kind of big. Okay, so there you go. So I hope you guys are getting the idea. This is so simple to use. It's just drag and drop. And all you do is put the name of the song in and the beats per minute and make sure there's a space between the number and BPM, okay? And that's all I'm doing. So if I change the song, let's say I'm going to do Waymaker, okay? So I'm just going to go in here and I'll even put the name of it. Waymaker, and I believe this one's 65 beats per minute. And just make sure there's a space, one space. I've made the mistake many times and couldn't figure out why it wouldn't warp the loop for me, and because I didn't put a space, or I had two spaces in between it, and that's super frustrating. So we'll start that.
1, 2.
Okay, so that's at 65. So you can go through and just kind of. So let's try this. Let's try this one here. And that's the fun of this. You have so many loops to choose from.
1, 2.
You can just kind of pick which one you want, you know?
2, 3, 4.
Okay, so on this song, so really nice loop for that, okay? So Waymaker, a common song that a lot of people are doing. All right, so now I think we have the concept of how to do this. Drag and drop loops, find one that's somewhere close. Even if, if it's in the 60, when you're using a standard version, you can use the complex feature. That can be pretty far apart before it sounds weird. So even if I drop one in that's 80, if I drop this one, worshiping, from 80 to 65, show you what it sounds like.
1, 2, 1.
So still sounds really good. Okay, so there's that. All right. So now, let's talk about a couple other features that I love to use. Now in this song is super slow, so I don't want to wait like 4 counts. So like this one goes 1, 2. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say I just want to do 1, 2, 3, 4 and come in. I don't need that first, extra 4 bars there, or 4 counts in. I just need the 1, 2, 3, 4 count. So what I'm gonna do is go to Waymaker here and go to where this count in. Now I can come down here and see this. Now you have 2 flags here. You see this one. This top one is your looping feature, which we're not using on the Cowden, but this next one is telling Ableton, hey, where should we start this audio file? So right now it's starting at the beginning, but let's move that up until right here. Now we're just going to hear 1, 2, 3, 4. So now
1, 2, 3, 4.
So you see how that works. Now, so, you know, it's very simple to move that up and down. So I use that feature all the time. Sometimes I need a longer count in. Sometimes I want a super, super short one. So I'll just go to move that bar up. And that's all you have to do for that, okay? So that works for the fast and the slow. You can see 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you just move that up, and then there you go.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay. So the last feature I want to talk about in this video is going to be the 6/8 time. Oh, and there's a couple really cool loops. I'll show you this one. It's called Kojic, and this is more of a just kind of an old school traditional. And so I'm gonna set the BPM at 100. Just gonna delete all this and just set this at 100. Okay, and I'm gonna find this one called Kojic, which is Church God in Christ. So I'm gonna move. So this is like a little church bump, you know. And so you can do. I have 2 of them. So let's put this one up here.
1, 2, 1, 2.
So you know,
3, 4.
you're kind of old school, you know. Okay, just your old school kind of church bump, okay? So there's that one. And then I'll do this one as well quickly.
1, 2.
So kind of the same thing.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so that'll give you just an example. Apologize for the playing. I'm on like a little MIDI keyboard. Just wanting to give you some examples of how that sounds. So anyway, so that's a really cool loop that I have found that I use a lot for like little, you know, church bumps or just traditional, you know, hymnals or whatnot. So really cool loop. So you can go through all of these loops and just kind of preview them by clicking on them or whatever, you know. And so, okay. So here's an example of one of the loops I was telling you about that you may have to change. So this one's 122, but down here you see the suggested BPM is 69.71. Okay, so when I click this,
1, 2.
obviously it's not
1,
lining
2,
up.
3, 4.
Okay, so what you want to do is when you click on that, you want that to say 122. So if I click 122 and that suggested and hit enter, now
1,
it's going to
2.
line up.
1.
So there are a few loops, and I think maybe just 2 or 3 in there that won't line up perfectly. And you'll just have to change the suggested BPM to the correct BPM. And it's written right here, 122. So right here, it should say 122. Okay. And if that says that, you know, it should line up perfectly and make sure it's warped and you'll be good. And sometimes I've seen that you have to unwarp and warp it to get it to work. I've seen that as well. All right. So that leaves us with the last part is just the 6/8 loop. And so let's see this one.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So there's your 6/8 loop. Okay, so I'm gonna just type in 6/8, and then here are all the. I don't have very many 6/8 loops, but I've just given you what I do have, and these are just like I said, all these are free. So I got them for free, and I wanted to bless you guys with them for free. So here's the deal with the 6/8 loops. So as you drop those in, you bring those in and you put them in, they're all going to have to be clicked down to halftime here. So this, you see this 2 right here on this side. There's a 2 over here and 2 over here. You got to click that and that will put it in the correct time signature or tempo, I should say. So you can see it's just
One,
double
two,
time.
3, 4, 5.
It's still in time, but it's double time. So you on all of the 6/8 clicks, you got to do that, or loops.
1, 2, 3, 4,
So then you
5,
got
6.
Okay, so there you go. So that's going to be your 6/8 clicks, and like I said, they're all going to be the same. Where you're going to have to hit that 2. So every one I drop in, I'm going to have to come down here and press that. And I'm not sure why that is. For some reason on these, I try to figure that out and get it to work right. But that's what I found that I've had to do with all of them. So they all will be in time, but you'll have to hit that 2. Okay, and so that's your 6/8 click and loop section. So that really takes you through the whole process and how I use Ableton. And like I said, never save over the Ableton template. Just, always open it up and then start from there and start your putting your worship set in. So this will give you a pretty good walkthrough of everything. And I hope this helps you guys. And I hope you're able to use the loops and click tracks for your worship set. And so I would love to hear about, how you guys are implementing this and just, how it's working out for you and your church. And if you would just like and subscribe the video on YouTube. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do that as well. And I hope this blesses your church. God bless you. And I hope to hear about how this is working for you as well.